Hey guys, Anisa here, and I'm coming to you in a hat disguised as a cat and socks that have ballerina blitzcranks all over them, and I'm here to tell you about my first, last, and worst roommate experience I've ever had. And I'm really gonna hammer home the idea that you really need to understand that when you're making a commitment to something, you're making a commitment to something. Whether you're buying a puppy, moving in with somebody, or getting married, please know what you're getting into, because halfway through if you go, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know why I'm here, well, that just sucks then, doesn't it? So there is the saying that you don't really know somebody until you move in with them, and that's absolutely true. But when you don't know the people at all, period, before moving into them, you're asking for a whole mess of weird, awkward, and disgusting. Now, when I was 20 going on 21, I decided I wanted to be an artist, which meant in my dumb ape brain that I needed to go to the coast in order to paint out my days and live as a struggling artist with my $1,000 to my name. It's probably one of the most impulsive things that I have done in my life, and I can't say that I regret it, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't do it. So, impulsivity isn't always bad, kids. But because I was moving to the coast, somewhere that I had never really been, I didn't know anybody there, and I sure as hell with $1,000 couldn't drive down there and shop around for a place, so that left me with very limited options, aka Craigslist. Now, I browsed around on Craigslist until I found this lovely, quaint basement suite with 2 girls looking for somebody to take over the 3rd girl's lease. Now, you think a normal person would be like, okay, well, why does this person need their lease taken over? But sometimes I do dumb things. I didn't ask questions, and I ended up driving down and meeting them on the spot after I had already signed the lease. First girl I met was a student. She seemed really nice, quiet, very shy, but I only met her for a split second because she was actually leaving because it was spring break for university. Second girl I met was a Swedish girl who was just traveling the world and happened to be in Canada. She wasn't a student, just a person looking to experience life. So the Swedish girl was actually very charismatic, very nice, awesome, fantastic, and I really liked her. You know who else was charismatic? Jeffrey Dahmer, okay? Ted Bundy, Hitler. People that are overly charismatic, they scare me, okay? She's conditioned me to be afraid of overly charismatic people. Now, there's a couple of things that I wish that I had known beforehand, things that she might not have necessarily been able to control, but it would have been nice to know, you know, just to be aware of. For example, she suffered from frequent night terrors. Basically, you have these really shitty, vivid nightmares and you wake up screaming, blood-curdling screams. And although she can't control it, I really wish somebody could have said to me, hey, you're gonna be driving away from your family and living in a strange house, and there's gonna be some blood-curdling murder screams every once in a while. Sorry. Like, it would have been nice to know, you know what I mean? On top of the night terrors, she really liked Tinder. A lot. So there would be random men coming in the house at all different hours, every other day pretty much. Now, when she wasn't screaming from night terrors, she was screaming for other reasons, and the walls were very thin. Now, I know what you're thinking at this point. You're thinking, okay, Anisa, these are very, like, basic, fucking everyone's been through this shit. But it gets worse. Dealing with random men in your house is anxiety-inducing. Dealing with screaming night terrors is anxiety-inducing. It put a lot of pressure on me, and I stopped wanting to be around the house as much, and I was either out staying over at my boyfriend's house or working extra hours at my job. I just didn't want to be at the house. It was a lot of worrying, and it was really hard for me to handle. Tinderella, or the Swedish girl, I'm gonna call her Tinderella for the rest of this story, didn't like that I wasn't around as much. She took offense to it. She handled it very poorly. Crying, yelling, coming into my room at night asking if I still liked her. And I get it. She's away from home, she's uncomfortable. But again, it gets worse. So the girl from spring break ended up coming back, and she ended up being really cool. She was tracked, she liked to work out, she liked anime, and we clicked, and we hung out every once in a while. Tinderella didn't like that. at all. She didn't like that at all. And she responded by bursting in the room at times, accusing us of talking about her, which we were never doing. Talking about how terrible of a roommate I was. She would send me threatening texts. She would send me voicemails that made me extremely uncomfortable at work. And I started to feel like I was in an abusive roommate relationship, abusive roommate relationship. This is when I started considering moving out. But moving out is a big thing. You have to, pack up all of your stuff. You've got to find somebody to take over your lease. You have to find a new place to live. It's not an easy thing to do. So it's something that I really wanted to avoid doing. I had just established myself at this place, and I would have lost my deposit and everything else if I moved. So I really didn't want to. This is all bearable. It's shitty, it's weird, and it's uncomfortable, but it's not exactly fun. It's not like you want to dread going home from work because you're terrified of what your home life's gonna be like. It shouldn't have to be like that. But it got worse again. At the time I had a boyfriend. I mentioned him before. Sometimes I would stay at his house rather than be at home. And up until this point I never brought him around because I wasn't 100% comfortable, and she always seemed a little bit off. She was just weird. She was just weird, and I didn't want to bring unnecessary people into her sphere. One day my boyfriend was coming home from an event and decided to stop by to see me and just say hi. This is the pivotal moment when I decided that this person is nuts and I need to move out. My boyfriend at the time was half black, half white. She didn't like that at all. And I'm not saying like she was making jokes. I'm not saying she was, being jovial about it. It was like aggressive, get out of my house, this is disgusting, I hate this. It was just blatant. It was the first time I had witnessed actual blatant racism. So not only was I in a house with a girl that loved bringing around random men, screamed at random times at night, had possession issues, but also didn't like interracial relationships. This is so weird to say. It's something I'd never experienced before. But that was when I had decided things needed to stop. I needed to move out. But making that decision is the first step to a long process of shittiness. I had to find somebody to take over the lease. I had to find a new place. I picked up a second job so I could afford living on my own because God forbid I went through that again. And it was a month and a half of her taking me moving out poorly and a lot more screaming and yelling and me hiding in my room and hiding at work and staying at other people's houses. And it was just, honestly, it was like 2.5 months of the consequence of me making a very poor decision, and I deserved it. I deserved it. It's dumb. It's dumb to do that. Listen to me. Listen. Take my word on this. If you are making a commitment, please, for the love of God, make sure you know what you're doing, okay? Know the people, know the dog, know the person you're marrying, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, just know that it's what you want, because a commitment is a commitment for a reason, okay? It's a commitment for a reason. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is just fucking do your research, okay? Know how you feel. Because there's nothing worse than being in a situation where you're forced to do something that you don't want to do. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching or listening or whatever you were doing. Thanks for giving me the time of day. I don't usually do this, but my New Year's resolution last year was to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel, and we're getting closer to that, and it seems like a realistic goal, so I'm trying to push to hit 100,000 followers by January. So if, share this, let people know if you liked it. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's been crazy, my growth's been crazy, and I love you guys so much. Anyways, I'll see you guys when I see you, whenever that is. But until then, peace.